For deer in Washington State, life has been pretty easy.
The deer typically sleep until about 9. They'll hit the snooze a few times. They'll get up, groom themselves, have a little breakfast, and take a midday nap. So it's kind of nice. I like it.
But life is about to get a lot less comfortable for these deer. Wolves have returned to Washington State for the first time in almost 80 years, and deer top the menu. While that might mean a reduction in the deer population, the fear wolves spread can have surprising benefits for the larger ecosystem. Aaron Worsing studies predator-prey relationships for the University of Washington.
What do you think about trap location? Where have you put a trap?
He and his grad student Justin Dellinger have undertaken a long-term study to learn how deer's fear of wolves can impact plant communities in the Cascade Mountains of eastern Washington. Historically, as many as 400,000 gray wolves may have inhabited the West. But by 1930, hunting and habitat loss had virtually wiped them out.
For the next 80 years or so, this top predator was completely absent from the vast majority of the landscape.
But in 1995, gray wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone and nearby Idaho. They've since spread across the West, and the population has grown to more than 1,600 individuals. The Cascade Mountains are one of just a handful of places in North America capable of supporting large carnivores like wolves, cougars, and bears. 10 documented wolf packs now roam these woods, but it's still just a small fraction of their historic numbers.
At present, we live in a world where big predators globally are largely missing, and that has very important consequences for the structure of natural ecosystems.
Worsing learned this lesson firsthand while studying tiger sharks in the waters of Western Australia. He found that when marine mammals changed their foraging behaviors to avoid being eaten by the sharks, it allowed seagrass to flourish. And healthy seagrass beds means increased biodiversity, including more fish and other sea creatures.
My work with tiger sharks got me thinking about whether top terrestrial carnivores like wolves might have similar effects on vegetation.
To find out, Worsing turned to the forests of eastern Washington.
The trap's just over here.
Since 2012, Worsing and Dellinger have captured more than 40 mule and white-tailed deer and outfitted many with cameras.
The trap will close long way so the animal's sort of pinned in.
Right.
And by peering into the daily lives of deer in areas with and without wolves, Worsing hopes to get an up-close look at how wolves alter deer's behavior.
We're instrumenting them with a collar that features a camera that sits on their chest and records everything they see. We actually have a window into exactly what the deer is doing at every moment. And that provides the kinds of insights that you couldn't get any other way.
When living among wolves, prey species like deer and elk become more reclusive, and that can cause a chain reaction with far-reaching impacts. Scientists noticed this connection after wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone in 1995. Since their return, aspens and willows are healthier, grasses are taller, and beaver, bison, and songbird populations have increased. But just because wolves change the landscape in one place, does that mean it'll happen everywhere they appear? Worsing and Dellinger think that seeing things from the deer's point of view could be key to answering this question.
I think the most surprising thing is how individual these deer are. It's a lot like people. You get somebody that's really high-strung, or you get somebody that's really mellow.
Yeah, I love how you get in there and you can actually see them nibbling the lichen. Yeah. The deer leans down to eat, the camera pans down with it so you can get every single bite. And when it leans up, you get a really good panoramic view of its surroundings. That's really cool. With this camera footage, we can basically discriminate between times when the deer have their head down snooping around for food and when they have their head up in an alert position looking around. Our deployments so far are beginning to paint the picture that if you're a deer and you're in a landscape that's being hunted by wolves, you need to spend a lot of time with your ears perked up and your eyes peeled looking around for these animals, because of course you don't want to let the wolves get too close. We're learning that probably the majority of the impact predators have on prey species and ecosystems is by being what we would call an agent of intimidation, or in other words, a threat. By merely being a threat, predators can affect entire prey populations, inducing many different individuals to play it safe. And when the entire prey population plays it safe, that's an entire population of deer that aren't eating as many plants, and that can have huge benefits for plant community.
And when plants thrive, the entire ecosystem becomes more robust.
What we've learned as scientists over the past several decades is that ecosystems are more diverse when you have top predators. And it's entirely possible that we could see the same thing in Washington now that wolves are back on the landscape.
But as wolves recolonize the West, they are sowing fear far beyond the forest. Many people see them as a threat to livestock or pets. And states like Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana have recently allowed wolves to be hunted.
We're still here, we're gonna get another one.
The number one factor today in determining whether wolf populations are going to be successful or not is wolf tolerance. To some extent, the negative attitudes humans have towards wolves are a function of misinformation.
And it's not just wolves. Large predators around the world have been villainized, when in fact they can have a positive impact on the wilderness we love.
That makes studies like the one I'm conducting on wolves and deer especially important. The more we understand about the roles big predators play, the better the argument we can make for the case for protecting them.